You are watching an ORACLOUD Plus Training as a Service video snippet. Snippets are concise, targeted tutorials explaining how to use, configure, integrate, deploy, and support Oracle's Fusion Cloud applications. Snippets are delivered via FAST, the Fusion Application Support Tool. FAST is accessible via the web at www.oracloud.plus. No more watching hours of Learning Path style videos to get to the 5-minute snippet you need. Learn Oracle's Fusion Cloud applications in minutes, not hours. Hello and welcome to the Sourcing Services video presentation. This video is intended for beginners looking to learn more about Oracle's Fusion Cloud applications. It explains what sourcing services are as performed in large public and private organizations. Please note this video is heavily related to both the purchasing services and procurement services videos. They should be watched together. This video can be found, as all videos can be found, within FAST and probably on YouTube as well. Within FAST, you see the breadcrumbs here on the top, the Procurement Cloud Training Group, more specifically the Intro to Procurement Cloud Training Center within that group, under the Learn menu option, and it's called Sourcing Services. By the way, if you do not have access to FAST, the Fusion Application Support Tool, you can request that access by emailing your name and your contact information to access@oracloud.plus. Key topics for this presentation are as follows. What are sourcing services? What is supplier enablement? What is sourcing? What is contracting? When are sourcing services performed? And how are sourcing services performed? So let's jump in. First topic, what are sourcing services? Well, procurement is the process of getting the materials you need. Sourcing is finding and vetting the suppliers of those materials. The sourcing process encompasses enabling suppliers and authoring contracts. When we say authoring contracts, there's different kinds. To pre-purchase, one is non-financial, so think about a non-disclosure agreement. And one is called master agreement, master of hosting, master of professional service, master of end user license, etc. Those are pre-purchase agreements. And then of course you have the purchase contract, sometimes called an MPA, an MGA, or an SOW if you're in services. Second topic, what is supplier enablement? Well, in short, supplier enablement is creating suppliers. However, it's an enablement or a registration transaction here that can be done internally or externally. So the steps to register externally is somebody invites the supplier to register. The supplier goes to a site like you see here on the left, and they register through a series of train stops. It's configurable. That registration transaction goes through an internal review of where they may, or someone may, request more information, might assign it to somebody else. It's a series of things they can do prior to approving or denying the registration request. That registration request, if approved, becomes a supplier record. That might be a supplier in terms of a limited supplier or bidder, or what Fusion calls prospective, or it could be a full-blown payable supplier, called spend authorized. However, that registration request, when creating a supplier, creates a supplier notification, so the supplier will receive that. Third topic, what is sourcing? Sourcing, or what can also be called auctioning or reverse auctioning, is the process of procurement auctioning the demand of, let's say, 1,500 new laptops. They're going to find a supplier, a price, etc., and they use the negotiations tool within Fusion to do so. So the steps to do that is to create or publish a sourcing event, often called a negotiation. The suppliers will respond to that or do what's called bid. Sourcing teams will evaluate those requirements. Lawyers or contract admins will author contracts. That event will, after contract, be awarded and suppliers will be notified. Next topic, what is contracting? So we talked a little bit about this before. One of the nice things within Fusion is you don't have to complete the sourcing event until you know you've got a valid contract. This is the process of finding that valid contract. So you can see train stops here on the top. There's multiple different ways to author contracts. This is the more simple of the grouping. But in essence, you're going to create or author a contract, meaning that you'll produce some terms, you'll push it around to different suppliers. They will review that in the supplier review. When you've got an agreed upon document, you'll submit that document for approval to legal or the contract admins within procurement, again, depending on the business rules and how the app is set up. If chosen, you can either sign it physically or have it sent to a really nice integration with DocuSign. And then after that, you can create fulfillment transactions and track the purchasing activity for those transactions. Topic number 5, when are sourcing services performed? Well, there's really 2 initiators to sourcing services. First is that you've searched for catalog content, can't find it. You are now going to do a non-catalog request, meaning you can't find catalog or pre-negotiated content. So obviously that would spawn this sourcing service to find the supplier, the content, the price, the terms, etc. And then if you've got a bunch of content on or in catalog on contract, you may have periodic programs to reinitiate or resource that same content. And sourcing programs don't have to be just resourcing. They happen to be a tool used to aggregate lots of different sourcing events in an objective or more than one objective, most often cost, but obviously could be soft objectives about productivity, risk mitigation, etc. So non-catalog requests and sourcing programs are 2 of the initiators of sourcing services. And then lastly, how are sourcing services performed? So you can see here that you have any number of different requesters, employees here on the far left making requests. They go through an approval process. They may go through a buyer review process. And so that buyer review is determining what the tool is with how, well, first of all, if there needs to be a tool, and that's usually based on some business rules. And then what the tool is to source this particular request. So it could be an RFI to get information. It could be a request for proposal when you need it to be proposed, meaning procurement doesn't even understand how this is going to be done. The supplier will propose. If procurement knows how, they may just want a quote on the hours, rates, unit cost. There could be buy auctions or sell auctions. And sometimes they will use a negotiation simply, it's non-competitive, but you can use that single bidder negotiation to force requirements to be consistent. One of the other things worth noting between requesting and sourcing, we talked about it a little bit earlier on several other videos, suppliers may need to be enabled. I can get a non-catalog request which I have no supplier. And so if I'm enabling the supplier or bidder to get into the sourcing event, I may also need to do some pre-purchase contract work for non-disclosure or any pre-purchase masters, etc. And then obviously the outcome of different sourcing events could be both a BPA, meaning a blanket, or a CPA, meaning a contract purchase agreement, or quite simply a purchase order. And you see that on the far right, that the sourcing event or tool goes into a contract that then may or may not have some catalog enablement. So if we run a request for quote and we get some items that are goods, we may want to stick them in a catalog. So next time they don't have to be sourced, they could be self-service through catalog enablement and out to the order. One last thing, just want to make sure that it's not unclear on this slide, that sourcing may start with a request for information, which 99% leads to a request for proposal because it's undefined. I just don't mean to indicate that an RFI goes into a contract as it kind of looks like here. It's just a general push of buyer review to source to contract to catalog to order. So are you ready now for the next video? Well, do you understand the components of sourcing services? Enabling supply, sourcing, contracting. And do you understand when those different sourcing services are invoked, i.e. catalog or non-catalog? That's it. Not the greatest video. If the answer is no, then either watch again or feel free to reach out to me directly. You can see here on the left, that's my email address, and I'm always available to answer questions. If the answer is yes, great, then maybe you want to watch more video. So So you can go to our playlist out on YouTube by going to YouTube and searching on ORACLOUD Plus Inc. Or you can go from our website to the tool we call FAST, the Fusion Application Support Tool, and you can access the full catalog of our Learn, Use, Configure, Integrate, Deploy, and Support videos online. So that's it for this tutorial. We hope you found it informative, and keep watching.